So I'm going to continue my looking at Al Columbia. And this was the series where Al Columbia almost got his start, but didn't. This was Big Numbers, which was to be, I believe, 12 issues. They only put out two, and then it was canceled. Bill Sienkiewicz apparently could not devote enough time to this. If you look at the artwork in here, it is just absolutely Sienkiewicz at his best. But it was taking too much time, and so he passed it off to, I believe, his assistant, Al Columbia. And Al Columbia, I want to say, was like 18 years old. And so Al Columbia was going to do issues 3 and 4, and I believe part of issues 3 do exist out there. But I think the stress got to be too much for him, because he was 18 and trying to emulate Bill Sienkiewicz, who was an incredible artist. And legend says that he destroyed his artwork. And so that pretty much ended Big Numbers, which is a shame because this was a fascinating series. This is another issue of 00 with another story by Al Columbia, so I'll go in. This is issue 20, and it's called Amnesia, and it's another one with Seymour Sunshine and Ishkabibble the Monkey Boy. And so we start off, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, allow us to introduce Mr. Seymour Sunshine. He is a victim of amnesia. So apparently he just came down with amnesia, and he's walking around, and there are these like some kind of organs or something, bloody organs in a path leading up to this house. He does not know how or why he's come to have amnesia. Indeed, he's not even aware that such a condition exists or that Mr. Sunshine is in fact a victim of it. So he's following these organs or whatever into this window at the house, goes in there, looks like he's in a boiler room, and so he finds, I can't even really figure out what this is, but he goes upstairs, I guess following this trail of blood, and then there's this clock, and I adore this artwork. I think the artwork is stunning. It is atmospheric. It is creepy. It feels like something nearly 100 years old. Maybe not that old, maybe 80 years old, but like a very old cartoon that maybe wasn't in the best of shape after all of these years. So he says, "Oh, goody, you're home. Haha, I thought you were going to chicken out on me." I think that voice is actually the person behind the door. He peeks out, and then he must find Ishkabibble, the monkey boy, because now they're walking along. And so, again, I love this artwork. Looks like they're in like an old western town. And for whatever reason, Seymour Sunshine has brought along an axe with him. And then we have a broken down train, and just different, everything's just busted and broken. What is that, a wheel or something? And a car, and then we have actual boats sitting in the desert. It's so dreamlike, so atmospheric, and then they come across this city, the two of them. And in a car, they have these two men with vacant eyes and gaping mouths. Seymour walks up to one of them, and there's the clock, and this is a face that, it's really hard to focus on that. Face that Al Columbia likes to use. I think it's probably something from like the 1930s. And this ghoulish being starts smiling with a really evil smile, and Seymour is really disturbed and then takes off in a cartoon puff. And now we see that there are actually more of these beings. They all look exactly alike, with suits and pants hiked up almost to their necks. And Seymour and Ishkabibble go running off. Just more scenes. Occasionally, a sudden and very absurd blast of dramatic lighting would expose and track Seymour's movement, forcing him to adopt the loping and unflattering gait of his pursuers. So I guess maybe he's trying to, I don't know, imitate them, but they are everywhere. And they go into some, looks like, government building, or they walk past it. As is usually the case when being hunted by a pack of unholy carnivores, our heroes gradually lost their powers of locomotion until they were reduced to an awkward slow-motion trot. However, with considerable effort and concentration, they were able to glide into a place of concealment. So it is kind of like dreamlike in that they're having trouble even running away, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm at a loss as to what that picture is of. But there they are hiding in there. And then all of a sudden, ha ha ha, I say, old boy, you've certainly got us into a fine pickle this time. Howie, a first-rate halligaggle, if you don't mind me saying. I guess he's, I don't know, maybe getting a little goofy with fear. But then he's decided, and to think the answer was right here all the time. Right here, knock knock, in my brains the whole time. Oh, by the way, up here it says his amnesia is now gone. So he's figured it out. Don't you see? Those ghouls are merely figments of our own intellect and can cause us no physical harm. Only mental harm. We've absolutely nothing to fear. Watch, I'll show you. And so he goes outside. Yes, you chaps, I'd like to have a word with the whole lot of you. So he walks right up to them. If I could turn this page. Oh, yes indeed. For I've realized that all of you, while seemingly three-dimensional and quite menacing, are actually just a machination of mine, gone haywire, a freakish byproduct of my imagination. So they continue to approach him, and now he's gathering them around and giving them a rousing speech. I mean, there's really no reason we couldn't maintain a profitable coexistence as master and slave. We could have a jolly good time if we focused our energies in a unified manner under one banner, one voice. Together, gentlemen, we could work miracles, maybe even rule the world. If we could somehow bend all nations to our dominant will, then each of you in turn would become kings by your own right. You too could have subjects and servants and slaves and be called Lord. And then in the last frame, how do you like them apples, eh? And you could tell by his expression, he's got sweat on his brow, and he's looking out of the corner of his eye, and the end. And I think that we can kind of assume that he probably was wrong. They probably are not figments of his imagination. He probably died in the first story, and he probably died here too. So that was the conclusion. So that's Amnesia in 00 number 20. And another creepy story by Al Columbia. But there's more, even though his output has been very limited. I do have some more.